Do you know a temper tantrum 10-year-old? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about what to do about a 10-year-old having temper tantrums. In this video, we're going to be talking about understanding what's going on with that temper tantrum with the 10-year-old, for anyone for that matter. Honestly, temper tantrums are basically all the same no matter the age, because the reasoning behind those temper tantrums is very similar. Then after that, we're going to be talking about the skills and principles that you can focus on to help your child better self-regulate during times when they're feeling frustrated. When a child is 10 years old, they are a preteen, like just barely kind of getting into some development potentially that could be happening, especially girls, I'm thinking. I mean, some boys start developing a little bit earlier, but maybe 10 is more like your girls. Girls could start having some signs of puberty occurring, and sometimes those signs include higher emotions. Now, when a person begins to mature, their brain development really starts to increase as well. And that increased brain development can lead a person to feel very frustrated. Sometimes they can feel very scattered in their thoughts because of emotional changes that are happening. Sometimes they can feel very smart, but then misunderstood. So when a person is 10 years old, then we can assume that they either are almost to or just beginning some of those changes that can occur that can create some additional intelligence, but also frustration for the person, especially in the female sex. Other things that could be happening as far as tantrums and why a person might be choosing to communicate using a tantrum could be related to the environment that they've been raised in, or that they find themselves in on a regular basis. Are they in an environment that is filled with drama? If that's the case, they could have learned that they need to be the loudest person in the room, that they need to have the most drama to control. Just recently, I met with a family about their child, and they said, you know, I think we've been spoiling our child. We thought that we were doing good things, helping our child by, making sure that every single time our child had any concern or problem, that we would just remove it so that he never had to have any problems. And they said, but I think we've ruined him now, because now, Nicholeen, now that we're learning, teaching self-government, we've recognized, I think, that we've coddled him. And we have probably made him think that he gets to control us, that his emotions get to control us. So that's another thing that happens with temper tantrums, is people recognize, oh, I can control everything like this. I can get my way, or I can not have to take responsibility. I can encourage someone to act reactively because I am initiating a power struggle. And if they are a passive type person, or a person who wants to make me feel happy, then their reactive response might be coddling or doing whatever I want. Why wouldn't I do it then if I've been trained that it works? Sometimes it might not work for a parent to power struggle in that way and to win, but it might work with somebody else, like a teacher or friends or other people. So sometimes inconsistency in communications with other people could also make a difference. Sometimes just having inconsistency within one parent's communication and instruction with the child can make a difference. So maybe sometimes the parent says, nope, that power struggle is not going to work. We're stopping that. We need to communicate differently. But then sometimes the parent's tired and they're like, okay, fine, whatever, and it does work. Well, now the temper tantrums could increase in their magnitude, because sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So now the child might be thinking, okay, well, I'm going to make it work because sometimes it works. So I'm pushing it now to the next level. So what do you do? What do you do if you have a child who's 10 years old and is having temper tantrums? All is not lost. If you have been subscribed to this channel for a while, then you know that for years I did therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens. And they had a myriad of different processing difficulties, things like ADHD, OCD, ODD, RAD, FAS. Some of them were autistic, bipolar. There were many things that were going on. And you know what? I taught them, those teens, the same skills that I'm going to be teaching you now, which can be learned when a child is a toddler. And they experienced a change. They were able to overcome their tantrums, even in their teen years when they'd been working on them for even longer periods of time. So they definitely are the same skills and principles that can work for your 10-year-old. They are the skills and principles of self-government. So I don't know if you've been to my website, which is teachingselfgovernment.com, but on that website you will see that there are many resources. There's a lot of things like the podcasts and articles and things, but there's also a lot of things that you can learn from so that you can learn the system of self-government for your family. Your child right now, if he or she is having tantrums with you, thinks that they have to engage in a power struggle and that they have to win. They see interactions or problems to be solved as them against you. Boom, boom, boom. But that's not what the reality of the situation is. In reality, your child is battling themselves. It's just them against them. It's all going on the inside. When they have a temper tantrum, they're trying to bring you into it so that they don't have to take responsibility and so that they don't have to battle it out on the inside. But in reality, until they face that inner battle, the problem will never be solved. So that process of recognizing what's going on the inside and learning the skills that you need to solve your problem is actually the process of self-government. Self-government means that you are able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and that you possess a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. When I teach parents how to teach their children problem-solving skills and self-government, I teach them to begin first with calmness, then to go to the 4 basic skills. The 4 basic skills are all taught in these 4 children's books. The 4 basic skills are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. If a person learns the skill sets to these 4 basic skills, that ends up taking care of 99% of their behavioral problems. And these skills are not just for children. I know these books are for children. They're probably appropriate for children ages like 12 and under, but they are for adults. These are adult skills. If you know how to accept a no answer, you don't have to have road rage anymore. You can just look at the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say, okay, that's what happened, and then drop the subject. That's how a person accepts a no answer, like somebody cutting them off in traffic. These skills are life-changing. So once you've worked with your child on calmness, what that feels like, and how to get them to a place of calmness, then you can start using the 4 basic skills. Now, once the family understands calmness and the 4 basic skills, you have a baseline for calm communication about any topic. But you're not going to want to stop at just teaching the 4 basic skills. You'll also want to teach your children the 5 teaching styles that you will use as their parent teacher. I wrote this book called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success, so that parents and children could read a book together and recognize what their roles were in the family. And I'm not talking about certain responsibilities. I'm talking about who they are truly to each other in the family unit. That makes a big difference. One of the roles of parent is teacher and leader. Roles are not just responsibilities, but it's who you are to each other. It's what you fulfill for the other person. So when a child is going completely out of control, how do we teach then? When a child is having a tantrum, they are going completely out of control, and you need to prepare that child for success. When you understand your role and you know, okay, I'm the teacher, I'm the leader, now how do I help a person out of this difficult situation, this habit of going out of control or power struggling, because a temper tantrum is essentially a power struggle? Well, first you have to have your own calmness. That is vital. And I'm going to give you a gift at the end of this video that will help you have calmness, and it will be completely free for you, because you've got to start with calmness. And we've already mentioned the importance of that with the children as well. But you're going to teach the children the 5 teaching styles. Now, in my course, the TSG Parenting course, I talk about how to correct children children, how to help them in intensive teaching situations, that's when you use something called the rule of three. Now, you would want to use the rule of three with a 10-year-old that is having a tantrum, but you have to teach this way ahead of time. You don't just wait until there's a tantrum. You have to teach all of the skills to the child ahead of time. They need to know exactly how they will be corrected so that there's predictability there that will decrease anxiety, which will hopefully decrease the chances of it going to a tantrum too. Because sometimes anxiety is actually the reason, I mean, that's basically fear, right? But that's a reason why somebody might go to a tantrum. If they're feeling anxious and they don't know how to handle their problems, they might just have created a habit of going to the mid or back brain as they're trying to solve their problem. So the rule of three is basically a process, it's a framework where you do 3 things 3 times to help a person go to their prefrontal cortex and get calm. It does take some practice. At first, some children that are used to having tantrums and have a habit of having tantrums will actually increase their tantrums at first. Like they'll get worse at first because they'll be like, no, I don't want this to work. I don't want to have to take responsibility. I don't want to be calm. But then soon they'll realize, okay, the battle is with me. I'm battling myself here. It's not me against them because they're staying calm. Especially if you've got your calmness down, it makes all the difference. Now that brings me to the free gift that I have for you. So I have a calm parenting toolkit that is the first baby step to really learning self-government, and I'd like to give it to you for free. So in the description below this video, there is a link to the Calm Parenting Toolkit for free, and the link says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. If you click on the link to that right now, then you can have the Calm Parenting Toolkit for free. I'll see you there.